because we are academics, we're not amateurs. And I thought, let me bring that and talk to the boys. So, boys, let's talk. It is a literary masterpiece. And today, all our analysis is going to be based on that. It's not just about being cool or being good or being enjoyable. No. Let's talk about the narrative structure. From the beginning to the end, everything is perfectly engineered, done so well that you cannot help but notice that she did not touch a paper, she did not write a letter or draw a panel until she already knew what's gonna happen the whole way. The writing, the narrative is of someone who knows what's happening next, not improvising, not getting attacked on Twitter and changing where the story is gonna go, not getting provoked by audience and just killing off a character. No. This is a person that had a story to tell, and the story was finished before they started telling it. And that will 100% of the time give you a clean cut narrative structure. There are no loose threads. There is something in literature called the Chekhov's gun. Chekhov's gun is a rule made by Anton Chekhov, the Russian author, writer, that said if you introduce a pew pew in the first chapter, by the end of the story, by the final act, that pew pew needs to be shot. No loose threads. Nothing happens haphazardly. Nothing happens in vacuum. If you show me a person, make that person significant to the storyteller. If someone says something, alludes to something, do a callback. That's just the sign of a brilliant writer. Even in comedy, one of the most appreciated things that a stand-up comedian can do on stage is a callback. They say a joke at the beginning, they reference it at the end because nothing was done outside the plan. And I love that about Fullmetal Alchemist. You never finish the show and think, whatever happened to that guy? Whatever happened to that? Why did they say that? What did they do with that? No. Everything is so satisfying, is so complete. And that's just something that you have to respect. The philosophical resolution, because at the end of the day, we are not writing a children's story. Even though shonen is by default for teenage boys, but the great Hiromu Arakawa said, I'm not talking to boys. I'm not talking to young, random, hormone filled teenagers. I'm talking to big brains. I'm talking to the people of the future, and I will treat them as such. She was not condescending like some authors out there that write stories as like, just a bunch of kids reading or a bunch of kids watching, give them a good fight scene and let's end the show and we can all go home and cash our checks. No. She respected you, she respected me, and she wrote for us like we should be written for. She appreciated that we have brains, and she gave us a story that had a philosophical question and in the end had a philosophical resolution. She did not just play with your emotions and ideas and morals and leave you hanging. No, she did not. No, she did not. She made sure that by the end, there was a lesson to learn. There was something you can walk away with. Just like Edward and Alphonse, you walked away learning a lesson. You walked away understanding what was going on. And let me tell you, not everyone can do this. I'm not even talking about manga and anime. I'm talking about classic literature. I'm talking about big names like Christopher Marlowe. I'm talking about Lord Byron. I'm talking about a lot of names. Shakespeare. Not all of them succeeded 100% of the times in giving you a philosophical resolution. Some of the immortalized works of literature that we study and teach and learn about in universities will leave you hanging. And at the end, you will question everything. But Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, the anime for kids, did not do that and succeeded perfectly. Thematic unity. Everything is serving one core idea. It's not all over the place. Despite having a variety of themes, despite introducing different flavors, many storylines, many storylines. We had the whole alchemy thing going on, but we also had the whole war and empire going on between with Ishvar and Scar. We also had the science and ethics, like von Hohenheim was actually a scientist or like a scientist's assistant, and we had ambition, each of their ambition, like so many themes. But if you take a deeper look, they all connected to one theme: control. And how do you achieve that? And what is the cost of that? And that is not a random core theme or core idea. No, 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 no. That is the core idea of some of the greatest works of literature. Ironically, it is the core idea of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. It is the core idea of Christopher Marlowe's Dr. Faustus. And it is the core idea of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Now tell me why don't we have a copy of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood in our university libraries or our university's libraries right next to those two books? Your kids should be studying Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood if they're going to be studying Frankenstein and Dr. Faustus. I say this with more than almost 2 decades of experience in the field of literature, and this is an objective analysis and an objective opinion that this does not belong only in shonen, no disrespect to shonen, or on some random top 10 anime list. This is, might be, the number one complete, most complete work of literature that you and I were alive when it was released. And let me remind you how ironic it is that the boyest of boys of story, the broest of bros of stories, was written by the great Hiromu Arakawa, who is a woman. Why am I saying this? I am saying this to prove that when she was writing, it did not come from a place of random passion or emotions, that she's a bro and she's just writing it and she wants to make this cool. No, 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 no. She was calculating. She was like a sniper from outside. She's like, I'm writing a story about two brothers. And it should appeal to all the bros out there. She studied bros. She studied you and me. She studied the mentality. Everything was calculated. Everything was accurate. Everything was represented right, without the flaws that you and I would have made or created, because we got too excited or we get too passionate. I was like, let me make a cool fight scene where a random guy just fixes his bangs while fighting. Yeah, shots fired at Jujutsu Kaisen and Mr. Akutami. So, again, multiple themes, one core idea. Let's talk about the character arcs, guys. If you ask anyone, who is your favorite character in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, you will not get the cliche answer of the protagonist. It's Edward, 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 which would what would happen with other incomplete works of literature where you don't even know anyone but the main characters to choose from. But no, 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 no. What we have at hand is a bunch of amazing characters. Nobody was a side character. Nobody took a side. Everyone was front, upward, and forward, developing, creating their storyline, getting a good, neat, clean resolution. For example, one of my favorite character is Armstrong. Armstrong was a fantastic character, and in any other anime, you would not go that deep to have a favorite character that's not the main character. Most of the people I asked chose Roy Mustang and called him the GOAT. Remember, Roy Mustang is not the protagonist. Edward and Alphonse are. But the story is so well written that you could not stop yourself from forming a connection with almost everyone that showed on screen. And their development is so organic. And that's what happens when you are writing knowing where the character is going, not improvising, not getting drunk and drawing panels, not going on Twitter and asking people where should I go next with this character, and then they call you a hack so you kill off some characters. No, no, no. Edward Eric went from immature, arrogant, to humble and understanding of his own limitations, and that's how he won. Roy Mustang went from blindly ambitious, thinking that he can take on the whole world, to tasting defeat, then coming back with more power but more restraint. Scar, passion, anger, coming from chaotic, harsh environment, went through the ability to be empathetic even towards your enemies, and learned that blind hate weakens you, does not make you stronger, and became more of a mature warrior. And one of our favorite characters, almost a first or second favorite of everyone who watched the show, Greed, 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 Greed. The biggest arc of character development ever. Not a random villain or sidekick. No, one of the main villains in the rogue gallery, as you want to call it. One of the seven sins. Yet learned about sacrifice, from greed to sacrifice. Because this is not random. Hiromu Arakawa actually believes that greed is not by default a bad thing. It's just bad if you are greedy for the wrong things. Yet, if you control your greed towards knowledge, towards success, towards human development, it is something worth studying. Let me zoom in, guys. I think I'm blinding you with this small font. So let me know in the comments, in your opinion, my fellow literary experts who are building the discourse with me, and one day people will quote you and reference your comments. Which of these characters or other characters in the show do you think had the best character development or the best organic character development, or you felt that you related to that person's character development? For me, it is like the person that I totally relate to is Scar. I am always tempted to blindly hate a group of people or a whole culture or so on. And as I matured, as I grew up, I learned that that only kills your perspective and kills your cause, whatever it is. And that's when I learned how to restrain myself a little bit and always give people a chance and empathize with everyone, no exceptions. Let's talk about the villains. Not the villain, the villains. There are levels to this art of ours called anime literature. It's not one guy who is super powered or overpowered that we only have to deal with. No, it's a bunch of different types of villains. We have, of course, the main antagonist, because this is not a joke, this is literature. We have a protagonist and antagonist. But just like on the protagonist side, we have other characters that are extremely important. On the antagonist side, we had multiple levels of villains, and they were extremely well represented in the Seven Sins. Because the Seven Sins are not random villains. It's you and I, my friend. Especially when we're teenagers and watching that show, we were all the Seven Sins combined together. We were all proud and lustful and lazy. God knows I still am. A lot of these things I am gluttonous and lazy. That's a story for another day. That's a salaryman lore that we can discuss later. So you faced yourself. The story put a mirror in your face and showed you that these sins of yours are bad and gave them ugly, creepy, disgusting, hateful appearances, yet human like, and showed you how each of the main characters managed to defeat one of those sins and why you can do that as well. And then you come to Father, the antagonist, not misunderstood, not romanticized, a bad guy. Had his reasons? Yes. Are reasons equals excuses? Never. If you are a good writer, you will never confuse reasons for excuses. And that's what Father did, did perfectly, or represented perfectly in the story. He wanted to remove all human weaknesses and ended up the weakest of them all. I'm not gonna spoil anything. If you noticed, I'm avoiding spoilers. That's why I'm not hammering events or actual occasions. I know, like, how can you spoil something from so far ago? I don't know. Like, if we're gonna be teaching that at school, we better leave it unspoiled for generations to come. His conclusion was exactly the opposite, or the anticlimactic ending that he was hoping for, against everything that he was hoping for. While Edward almost started at a similar place. Like, don't you think this is extremely interesting? How both the main character, the hero, Edward or Elric, and Father started almost wanting the same things. Didn't both of them want power? Didn't both of them want control? Haven't everyone in the story? But what is the difference? Edward learned to love his flaws and weaknesses and imperfection and accepted them. Father could not make his peace with that, and we know how it ended for both of them. World building. World building. Two of my favorite words. Because what are we without decent world building? How can I immerse myself? How can I fall in love with a story that has no legs? That if I go this, or like this, everything collapses, the illusion is over. Looking behind the TV, finding someone is not how it should be. They went deep with the world building, but not boringly deep like some isekai, for example. Don't get me wrong, isekai is a great genre, but I also find it a little bit lazy when it comes to just propelling you in the story instead of throwing you into the have to put you into someone else's POV so you can imagine yourself and so on. This doesn't need to. This throws you right in there. Everything is very well structured. And if you don't believe me, just take Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. Go back to our world building videos that we made and apply the three principles that we learned about, and you will see that it stands on its own feet. emotional balance. Was it a sad story? Yes. Was it a funny story? Yes. Was it an educational story? Yes. Was it fun? Yes. Was it sad? Yes. Was it everything? Yes. That's life, my friend. And if you are not imitating life, then why do we have art? Some of the darkest moments in anime happened on Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I don't want to go into details, but we all remember poor Nina. That's such a dark theme, such a heavy theme to be in a story like this about teenagers and young people, aimed at teenagers and young people. But remember what I told you? She did not treat us like children. She respected that we can go through something like this if it will teach us something. And it taught us that humanity is not going to stop at anything to achieve some sorts of progress. And I don't know if you have seen the news lately, but Nina was not an imaginary story. It happened all over the place, and it was horrific. So let's all remember Nina as the storyline and the character that opened those skull eyes to the real world and made you understand that people will not stop at anything to achieve what they want. We had humor, we had hope, we had optimism. It is a roller coaster of emotions, and that's how I like my adventures. That's how I like art. Now, another aspect of it, manga is different from novels in a way that it's more visual. But what do you do with these visuals? Do you make it colorful? No. You make it make sense. You make it mean something. Uh, the hands, for example, why did they use hands for performing alchemy? And why is Elric's missing limbs are a constant visual reminder of moral consequence? He tried to reach for the sky, for the fire, and he burned himself. And that is very good symbolism that Edward was experiencing, him and Alphonse, not just him, experiencing the whole story without their strongest instruments, which was basically their body parts, to show also like difficulty and so on. The doors and gates. How big, how heavy are they? How huge they are? Yet, how easy it was to go through them once you got the point, once you were able to answer the question. And last but not least, two words that all of our people, generation, anime fans know: equivalent exchange. Alchemy is based on equivalent exchange. You gotta give, you gotta take. But come on, that's not alchemy. This is a masterpiece lesson in life. You go through the whole animation, hearing the words equivalent exchange, equivalent exchange, equivalent exchange, being programmed to understand that real life requires payment. That if you want something, you'll have to give something equal in value. Don't expect free rides. That's why people who watch and understand this anime or read the manga will at least have it at the back of their heads not to expect charity and expect like equivalent exchange. Now, moral clarity. Remember, we had a video about morally gray characters and morally gray villains and why they are not good, and even morally gray protagonists that just ruins my experience. I want someone to root for and someone to root against. It's not that difficult, guys. It's not complicated. It's the football match principle. You can't watch a football match for the love of the game, even if you love the game. You have to cheer for someone. You find a reason to cheer for someone. So give me some reasons. But don't make it bland. Don't make it too simple. to make it good guy, bad guy, butt heads. No, make it complex. Give the good guy some power. Sorry, the bad guy some power. Give him some charisma. Give him reasons, not excuses. Let me give him a chance. Hear him out. I want to hear him out. I want to know his story. He's not just a barking dog. No, it is a character. Flesh him out. Give the good guy some flaws. Make him complex. Make me doubt him at times and say, is that really the guy I'm rooting for? But no matter what happens, make sure that a good guy is a good guy and a bad guy is a bad guy. That a bad guy goes too far and burns themselves, and a good guy redeems themselves and overcomes their flaws. Or why are you telling me this story? Are you confusing me? Do you want me to grow up, be a morally confused person? No. Do you want to tell me that bad people win and good guys lose? Well, it does happen, but that's not why I'm here. I am here to be satisfied literally. I want a good conclusion. I committed to your story from beginning to middle to end, and the ending needs to pay off. You owe me. You owe me my time. You owe me my passion. You owe me my brain cells that are extremely rare these days. And I burned reading your work of art. It better look good. It better be good. Moral complexity doesn't equal moral shadiness. I am morally complex. You are morally complex. We are not sponges or cats and dogs with like instincts. No, we are humans. We question ourselves, but we're not shady. Morally complex doesn't mean creepy or sleazy. Ah, the beautiful ending. The ending was beautiful. And what I love about this analysis today, by the way, agree or disagree with taste. That's different from what we're doing today. Today, we are being objective. You can hate anime, you can hate everything. Hiromu Arakawa can owe you money that she didn't pay back, and you would still have to agree that boxes are being checked. Feel free to disagree in the comments, but I'm dying on this hill. I'm very democratic when it comes to other videos. but this hill I'm dying on. This hill I'm actually, this presentation I'm gonna take later to some snobby literary experts that say anime is for kids. Yeah, it is for kids. Awesome kids that grow up to be awesome adults. So who cares? The ending was satisfying because philosophically we got our answer, learned our lesson. We accept our weaknesses, and that's what makes us powerful. Characters. Each character got a satisfying, fair, cool arc ending. Political, the whole like struggle that they had, the armed struggle that they had, and imperialism and top dog versus little puppy situation that was happening with Ishvar got resolved. And God, don't I wish that can happen in real life with what all that's going on. You see, this is a timeless story. When it was made, we were not going through what we're going through right now in the world. But you can take it and apply it right there. Everything will fit. Even the goddamn desert. My God. Emotional, the stakes land with full weight. I like that. The stakes did land with full weight. When you were happy, it was for a good reason, as we can see in the picture. When you were sad and you cried, it was for good people. And when you got passionate and cheered for Papa Mustang, it was because he deserved it. One last thing before I go. What makes Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood the most complete work of literature is that the audience, you and I, we did not compromise. We did not have to turn a blind eye to make it cool or say, "Eh, it's okay." No, no, no. This was a fantastic business transaction. I will read your story and I'll watch it, and you will treat me with respect, and you will give me value, entertainment, and a story that will live forever. And she did deliver, my friend. And your kids one day will be talking about FMAB, maybe even more than they will be talking about Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. With all love to Miss Shelley, but I will take my chances with Elrix. Thank you, everyone. This was Salaryman. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Our community might be small, but we're tight. We know each other. We're going to grow up together. And please tell me what you think in the comments, and tell me if there was another anime that came close to the level of Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood when it comes to being complete. Take care, stay safe, and do better.